What's going on YouTube? So in the Alfa Romeo lineup, they haven't had a lot of products, but they have recently added their second SUV to the lineup. This is the all-new Alfa Romeo Tonale. This is smaller than the Stelvio, occupying the subcompact segment, and it also means it is their most affordable model as well. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in and check it out. So the Tonale kind of introduces a new era for the Alfa Romeo brand. And with that, you have some slightly different design elements, although they really did a good job of keeping all the signature things mostly the same. So you will notice that signature shield grille right here in the middle. It's a very distinct look. This is something that looks nothing like any of the other competitors on the market. And you also have these large openings down here at the bottom, kind of making that three-leaf clover design that Alfas have been known for. Now, one of the new elements that the Tonale is the first to introduce, and then the rest of the lineup is now adding, is this updated signature LED design. So of course you've got the three big LED beams right through there, and then you also have the daytime running light and turn signal indicators in the three sections. That's a different look for the brand, and I think it looks quite nice. There's not going to be any fog lamps or anything like that. One of the things that spices up the exterior the most are these wheels. Now, just like every Alfa Romeo, you've got to have the signature 5-hole design. That is something that always the Alfa Romeos are going to have, and it looks really nice here on the Tonale. We have kind of a silver finish on this trim level, and you'll also notice that we do have this gray surround for the wheel arches as well as along the lower part. You've got your branding right there on the side for your trim level, and as far as the mirrors, these are going to be blacked out on the top and fully loaded on today's model. So that means we have auto dimming, power folding, heating, and blind spot monitoring.
Now here at the side, you might expect the Alfa Romeo Tonale to be a really small SUV, and it's coming in at 178.3 inches long, which actually doesn't make it that much shorter than the Stelvio. It's going to be about 5 inches shorter overall, but not a tiny SUV by any stretch of the imagination. Now, as far as some of the design elements are concerned, we do have some blacked out window surrounds. One of the really cool design touches that I'm noticing right now is that because this vehicle is a plug-in hybrid, they've actually added like a little plug-in hybrid graphic there. And you're not going to have any roof rails on any Tonale model, which I do think it would look a little bit better if you added some roof rails here at the side. But moving around to the rear design of this model, you're going to once again see some Alfa Romeo bits here with this Tonale, but it does have a more distinct look than the Giulia and Stelvio model. So one of the things that's very distinct about it is that we have full-length LED taillights that go all the way across the back instead of just being on the side. And as I said, these are full-length LED. So all of the elements are LED, including the brake light, the turn signal, and reverse light. It does also have a clear lens on it. And then dropping down to the lower area, you are going to find some more of that kind of gray finish for the lower diffuser. It's going to be pretty aggressive overall as well. And you're going to notice that we have integrated exposed exhaust outlets. That's only going to be on this top end Veloce model. And then as far as the tow rating, 2,000 pounds. And I do also want to talk about your safety systems. Alfa Romeo is including all 4 of your active safety features as standard equipment. There are a few additional bits that you can option on as well, but I'm happy that they're including all of the main systems as standard equipment. But guys, let's check out that all-new interior. But before, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now let's go ahead and move on to the interior. We'll take a look at the key fob first of all. Alfa does have its own version of the key fob, so it does have branding on it as well as standard smart entry and remote start. Getting inside is as easy as just grabbing behind the handle. That's going to unlock the door. And go ahead and take a look inside of the cabin. If you're already someone who's been in or owns an existing Alfa Romeo, you'll notice that there's quite a bit of differences between this and the Giulia and the Stelvio. And there's a lot of differences when it comes to technology. We'll talk about that in just a second, but let's first talk about interior material and color choices. What you're gonna see on today's model is actually a full leather seat. This is optional on this Veloce trim because normally you're gonna have an Alcantara but this is going to be a full leather with the stitching details, and I really like how they embroider the emblem up there in the headrest. This all looks very nice, as well as tight bolstering to really hold you in place. Down below, you do have a 8-way power adjusting seat with 4-way lumbar support. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now when you get inside, you do have this cool animation that goes across the gauge cluster, as well as your main infotainment system. And let's go ahead and look at the rest of the overall materials. Over here in your door trim, you have a leatherette material that's nicely padded. That's going to continue up here, and there's going to be a soft touch plastic along the upper part. As we move to the upper dashboard, this is a padded plastic. We have a faux aluminum that runs through here, and it is also, by the way, illuminated at night with some ambient lighting. And then you have some leatherette through the center section. Down here in the lower panel, this is where you're going to notice that the Tonale is a little bit cheaper than the Giulia and Stelvio, because you don't have any padding down through here. And you're also lacking the real aluminum. You have this kind of faux aluminum instead. Now to fire it up, it's the same as all the other Alfa Romeo products. You just press this button right here on the steering wheel. But now that she's fired up, we might as well go ahead and start talking about the technology that we have on board, which is our main gauge cluster here. This is going to be a 12.3-inch display, full digital cluster. You can reconfigure this to different things. It also does change slightly when you change to different drive modes. You don't have a head-up display or anything like that. And then as we pull back to the steering wheel, we have a really nice steering wheel. This is the same exact one from the Giulia and the Stelvio. So you have that cool flat bottom design, nice leather wrapped, thick bolsters up here, and overall feels very sporty and nice to hold. It will be manual tilt and telescoping. We also have steering wheel heating. Now let's take a look over here at interior storage. So first of all, open up our center console here. We have a small but quite deep center console. So this goes down a good distance, so you can fit actually a surprising amount of stuff in there, even though it is a small opening. This does slide forward, by the way, so you have an adjusting armrest, and then you have your 2 cup holders, which are very deep. Last but certainly not least, up in the very front, we have our large wireless phone charging pad and a couple more USB ports. Now pulling back to the shifter, unlike the Giulia and Stelvio, we do have a traditional shifter, not an electronic one. You can also go into a manual mode, and you have the same exact super premium, super nice paddle shifters. These are column mounted. They are gigantic, real aluminum, and they feel super nice to use. Now when I go into reverse, this is also going to demonstrate another advantage that Tonale has over its siblings, and that's the fact that a 360 camera is available and equipped on this model. As you can see, you can switch between several different views, and you do have front and rear parking sensors as well. Over to the side, you have your electronic parking brake, and we also have our volume knob for a 12-speaker Harman Kardon sound system, and we'll give that a sample right now. Yeah, so overall sound quality is quite nice and certainly fills up this cabin well. Now continuing our tour, we do have the signature DNA drive mode controller on board, just mounted right there in a slightly different location. You have dual zone automatic climate controls located right here, very simple to use. Again, nice physical buttons all through here, and the display shows when you make those adjustments. Some functions are not going to be inside of this though. Like your heated and ventilated seats, those are going to be included up here in the display when you click that button. And that's something I do want to talk about, the fact that we have 3-stage ventilated seats. This is exclusive in the Alfa lineup to the Tonale, because that's not offered on Stelvio or Giulia. Now as far as the display itself, this is also a larger display than what you get in those 2 models. This is a 10.25-inch display, but it's not all about size. When it comes to this display, this is actually the only model that's using Uconnect 5 from the entire Stellantis lineup, and this means you have great performance, much faster performance than the other 2 models. It's going to also have wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay. Moving above, we have a frameless auto-dimming mirror. You have your 3 HomeLink universal remotes, and then finally, you'll notice that we do have a wide opening sunroof. It's not quite what I would call a full panoramic sunroof because they didn't want to compromise the rear headroom too much. But as you can see, it does have a nice wide opening and it opens up as well.
And let's talk about the rear seat area for this Tonale model. Now, you might expect out of a subcompact luxury vehicle that it's going to have a really small and crappy rear seat, but that's not exactly the case. We're going to have 38 inches of both leg and headroom, which actually is more than the Stelvio on paper. And I actually had the opportunity to sit in a Stelvio right before this, and I will say this feels like about the exact same amount of legroom and headroom that model offers. So you're not sacrificing when it comes to rear seat space. Now, I did bring my measuring stick here, and we have 6 inches of knee space. I'm 5'9" for reference. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". I can also slide my feet up underneath of the seat. I will say, though, these seats are definitely on the firmer side, so hopefully you like a firm seat. One other thing I want to point out is the tunnel is going to be a lot smaller for this Tonale model. And then as far as features, we do have standard vents on all models. You have 2 USB ports as well for charging things. However, no heated rear seats are offered on this model. And then turning to your door trim, it's going to be hard touch actually on the upper part. So I do not like to see that. That's a little cheap element. But we do have leatherette on the armrest portion, and down in the very bottom we have bottle storage. Now, as long as you go for a TI model or above, that will include a hands-free power tailgate. And then as far as the space is concerned back here, we're going to have a pretty decent amount. We're a little over 20 cubic feet of cargo capacity behind the second row seats. And if we fold those down, we're going to have a maximum of 50 cubic feet with this Tonale model. Now, the really cool thing about that is that it's really not much less space than the Stelvio. It's about 6 cubic foot less than the Stelvio, and really for this segment of vehicle, it's probably one of the largest in the entire segment because that's a lot of space for a subcompact. Now, I do want to talk about a few different things back here. We do have a 12-volt outlet. If we lift up the cargo floor, we have a little bit of additional space up underneath of here. And then the seats themselves are going to fold 60-40 split. However, there are no handles back here to fold them in the cargo area, so I'm going to have to actually go up to the second row itself and push the button to manually fold it down. And when I do, you can see we have a good amount of space. The seat doesn't fold exactly flat, so do keep that in mind, but I did bring my measuring tape so I can measure from the back of the seat back to the rear of the cargo area. We're sitting at a pretty solid 66 inches of space, and then as far as the width, it's 38 inches wide. So 66 by 38 is the cargo dimensions in this Tonale model. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2024 Alfa Romeo Tonale. There's a lot of really exciting stuff to show you when it comes to the powertrain because this is a plug-in hybrid exclusive vehicle, and we can't wait to show you all those different bits. We're also going to be talking about a lot of different other things, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting our sound level reading. So let's go ahead and start with the hard acceleration to see how performance-oriented this Tonale is. Quick.
For sure, definitely quick. So that's kind of just the first little jab of acceleration there. We'll see if we can get you another good acceleration as we merge onto the freeway here, but this is certainly a peppy powertrain, and that's despite the fact that it's really only a 1.3 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. But the power is very healthy overall, 285 horsepower, because you're combining that with all the electric componentry of this plug-in hybrid system. Yeah, even already up to speed, it's really pretty easy to gain even more.
Yeah, I know that wasn't the best acceleration. There's a little bit of traffic out here in Detroit. It's around 5 o'clock, but I think really the thing that you're going to notice first when you sit in this Tonale is the torque figure. So Drew mentioned it's 285 horsepower, but the torque figure is 347 pound-feet of torque, which is a ton for a small vehicle like this. I mean, as you would expect for an Alfa Romeo, it's a more performance-oriented brand, but 350 pound-feet of torque is a ton for a vehicle in this size category, and you can really feel that and enjoy it when you just do those quick accelerations like that, changing lanes, and it pushes you right back in your seat.
Yeah, absolutely. This class of vehicle, the subcompact luxury SUVs, are not usually all that powerful, and you know, really the enthusiast character is what makes this stand out, because none of those models are particularly sporty either.
Now this is going to be the engine for all Tonales, so you have the standard plug-in hybrid setup. So unlike the Dodge Hornet, you're not going to have that powertrain for this vehicle. It's just going to be the plug-in hybrid, which I also think is a really nice touch, especially as we head into an electrified future. And we'll talk about the electric range here in just a little bit, but as far as the battery pack size, it's 15.5 kilowatt hours.
Now when you're in the default drive mode and you floor it, that of course is going to get you the maximum power, which is going to involve both the engine and the electric powertrain. But when you're just cruising along, like we are now, the engine just goes ahead and shuts off. So we're just going on the electric range right now, even at, you know, full highway speed. But if I put my foot down, we'll be able to reactivate the engine. There's, of course, just like other plug-in hybrids, the availability of locking yourself into just electric power. That way there's no possibility of the engine turning on. It's just up to whatever your personal preference is.
You do also have an e-save function as well. So if you want to save your battery power for later on, if you're going to be like doing heavy city driving, you can also do that as well, which I think is a really nice touch.
As I put my foot down there, you'll notice that we do have a transmission on board, as in a traditional transmission. This is a 6-speed automatic transmission. That's one of the things I really like about this plug-in hybrid arrangement, is that we don't have a CVT. That kind of, you know, saps the fun, and you would expect that Alfa Romeo would not be satisfied with a CVT, and indeed they decided to go with a 6-speed automatic transmission, which gives it a lot more character, it's a lot more fun, and you can manually control the shifts with these gigantic paddle shifters. These things are insane. They're mounted to the column, full metal. I mean, maybe a little overkill for a vehicle like this, but it's really cool.
Yeah, I have to say, if you didn't clue into that this was going to be a traditional automatic, this would have been really, really overkill if that was a CVT with those paddle shifters.
Yeah, they're so big they almost block the turn signal. Like, you have to kind of reach around them to hit the turn signal.
Hey, that's a good thing for an enthusiast. Now, as far as how the power is routed to the ground, you do have standard all-wheel drive for all Tonale models. Additionally, as far as that electric range, let's go ahead and mention that because, of course, that's an important part for a plug-in hybrid. You're sitting at 33 miles of all-electric range. When we first got in the vehicle, it was mostly charged up, and we had about 31 miles of range on this particular model, and we've gone quite some ways at this point, and we're still showing 24 miles of electric range. So, of course, we're not going to be able to do a full range test while we're here in Detroit. We're just quickly sampling out some of these Alfa Romeo products, but hopefully we'll be able to get one back home and we can do an official Car Confections range test. So as far as your ride quality is concerned for this Tonale, I have to say I've been pretty impressed on our drive so far with this model. It is definitely going to be on the firmer side, as you would expect. This is a sporty vehicle at heart, so they are going to make the suspension nice and firm for those additional driving dynamics, which Drew will talk about in a second. But one really good thing that we have on this model is the adaptive dampers. So that, of course, allows a lot of adjustability. It allows us to be in the normal mode like we are now and not really have like our teeth rattling out of our skulls. But when you want it to be sporty, you can really change the character of this vehicle.
Yeah, and just like all Alfa Romeo models, you do have their DNA controller. So you've got those 3 very distinct drive modes. And I say very distinct because really as soon as you go up into D, which I'll do right now, just to demonstrate, a whole other character kind of arises.
Yeah, oh yeah. The suspension, I can already feel way different.
As we mentioned, we're in Detroit, so the roads are a big test of the vehicle, that's for sure, and you can certainly feel a huge difference when it gets into a firmer setting on that. The other thing, of course, the engine goes ahead and awakens completely, and it is tuned very aggressively. When I tip into the throttle, it's ready to go. The steering also really tightens up. So as far as the steering is concerned, the normal mode is actually pretty light, but it's very fast responding. This mode here really gets things a lot tighter. You get that immediate response as soon as you go off center. So I like the way this feels. It feels like it's very dynamic, very sporty. Like I said, once again, compared to the things you're going to be cross-shopping with, I think you're going to be happier with this, especially if you're someone that's more of an enthusiast.
And really, guys, I think that's got to be today's slam dunk, is just that overall drive experience. That's really the unique thing about this Tonale, is that it does have that really cool Alfa Romeo DNA baked into it, and it has the sporty character that is so uncommon in this segment of vehicle.
And as far as the airball is concerned, that's going to be some of the interior finishes. You know that we spent time with the Dodge Hornet. The interiors are basically identical. There's really nothing that makes this more premium than that. It's not a horrible interior, but you know, some of the stuff is definitely going to be more on the affordable end of the spectrum.
I do also want to mention your warranty. It's going to be 4-year, 50,000 miles for both your basic and powertrain warranty, and then you do also get 1 complimentary service visit. And let's talk pricing for this Tonale model. Now we're going to start at about $43,000 for this. The TI is $46,000. The Veloce is $50,000. Now, if you want all the options, which is what we have on today's example, it's going to cost you quite a bit. So with the $1,595 destination and quite a few options, we're sitting at $57,790 as tested. Of course, this is manufactured in Italy, so we don't expect to have any type of tax incentives for this plug-in hybrid model. Now, if you're a smart shopper, the next place you're going to go to is carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, on there we have a tool that will allow you to be connected to local dealers in your area to get you the best price on your new vehicle. Additionally, it's going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for negotiating with your dealership. If you want to take advantage of that, a link is provided in the video description. And guys, that's going to be where we leave off on this in-depth review of the all-new 2024 Alfa Romeo Tonale. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you help get us invited to events like this, where we can come out to Detroit and see the full line of Alfa Romeo offerings and show you guys some of those 2024 updates. So thank you for your support. If you're already a fan and subscriber, we really appreciate it, and we want to encourage you to go ahead and check out our website, carconfections.com, as well as our TikTok and Instagram pages. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.